we are just starting to get back into letters and fingers. What are letters? Letters are basically things that are known in music like this. They go from low, which is down, to high, which is up. They have only 7 representations in the English alphabet, A through G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And then it starts over again, A again. But they're also represented with what the focus of all of Studio KEYSongs is, are the sharp letters, those 5 distinct raised notes that are actually higher than the rest of the notes because they are physically raised. They are notes that are like this piece of wood that makes a grand piano. They glue a heightened piece of wood or plastic to raise where the sharps are in between and around the letters. These sharps, which are raised, can be any color. They can be the same color as the letter side. It's just when you're looking at it, it would be the feel of the 3s and the skis. The 2s are the 2s, and the 3s are the 3s. But instead of going 2s and 3s and 2s and 3s and 2s and 3s, it's hard to get so kind of the tongue-tied 2s and 3s and 2s and 3s, 2s and 3s and 2s and 3s, that I decided that instead of spitting my way through the whole thing, I would then use ski instead of the 2 because it looked like a pair of skis. And so I took those pair of skis and I turned them on in my sight line. On in my sight line. By finding them here, everywhere on any keyboard around me, wherever there's 2s, those are the 2s. Except I've named them the skis because they look like a pair of skis. Skis. And they also rhyme with 3s, which is what the other ones are, right? 1, 2, 3. I'm talking about all sharp letters here. Remember, these are just, the baby is falling already. It's not even the beginning of the semester and we're having it already. It's my favorite part. The letters are part of the keyboard, but the other half, which you feel your way around, is the skis and the 3s and the pattern of where you are, whether you're in 2s or 3s or skis and 3s, and the in-betweens of those, which are B, C, and E, F. B, C, E, F is a song. Right now, just believe me, the little rhyme B, C, E, F is great, and in-betweens. Those do not have any sharp in between their lettering of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Here is the cool thing. This is what we're talking about in your brain. This is what we're talking about in your sight line. These are not what we're talking about because your brain would have to transpose these little dots into these first. And then the second thing I would have to do is transpose these and the theory of these into these. Sight. Where are they? Where are these letters? Here. Quickly in your brain. So quickly it's split-second trilliseconds. That is how fast you need to see the letters into the keys. That is how fast when you look at the keyboard, how can you zoom your brain into the keyboard really fast? By looking at the patterns of the skis and the 3s. Because if you look at the keyboard through that way and go from there looking to the letter side of the street, which I call the other half of the street, then you'll be able to begin to see quickly what letter you're looking for, what letter is searching for, what letter it looks like, where it is on the out of the corner of your eye, because you're really seeing the skis and the threes. You're really looking at the sharps, and the sharps are then looking in between the sharps to find, and also in between BC, BC, EF, EF. You can tell whether you're at BC, BC, or EF, EF just because what is next door to you as far as, is it a ski or is it a three? Is it a ski or a three? That is so cool. Touch, feel. Now I know that a lot of keyboards that you see sometimes right now are on flat tablets, flat. And they do have the Mark III section and the Mark II section of what we're talking about, the threes and the skis. And they're marked, and they're not raised. They're not three-dimensional. Like these keys are actually raised. They're higher than the other keys. You can feel them when you walk down the center of the street, which is really right here. You're not off in the alley, you know, you're right here in the center of the street, so your fingers are touching both sides. You're actually touching the sharp side and the letter side at the same time. When you're riding down that street and you're doing that like that, you know what you get? You get yourself a touch feel in the keyboard. You can actually feel where you are, and you can tell whether you're near BC, BC, or EF, and you can also EF, EF, those are the two in-betweens I was talking about. You can tell by just kind of riding in there and touching around it, like, oh, I feel the skis on my right there, and the threes on my left, so it must be around BC, BC. Oh, here's EF, EF. Oh, I see the skis are to my left now, and the threes are to my right. It must be an EF, EF. I can feel where I am without really looking at the keyboard. Good thing to learn, because it's good also to find these letters. Where are they in this keyboard? It's almost like everything could superimpose this lettering into this keyboard. When I went like this, like to this, I was really showing that your brain has to learn this in height. Like this is a higher note. This C up here is higher than this down here, this D down here. Down, C high, down, D, D. So anyway, so this C high down to this D down here is the lettering of some letters, right? In between, right? D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Nice letters. They're in height, low, and getting higher and getting higher and getting higher and getting higher, higher, going this way. Except guess what? On the keyboard, because you don't play the keyboard this way. You play the keyboard this way. So what does that have to mean? It means that your brain has to transpose itself from going like this, up and down, to like this, right and left. Going right gets up, going left gets down. How do you know that's so simple? Why do you know that that would help me play the keyboard? Because if your brain can just think about it for a while, and just think about how simple it is, yet, when you're looking at letters this way, will you be able to translate, when you're looking at letters this way on the keyboard, you see that I have the three sharps marked out with the three slash marks, and then the two sharps marked out, the ski is right here, and I have the letters in between. When you're really looking at this, and this is how it's laying right at the keyboard level right here, in your brain, you're really thinking like this. So you've got this going on to this. This could be confusing enough. You do not need a third thing, which are these notes. Your brain is already dealing with two oblique things. Now, what am I saying? You don't like notes? Well, no, notes are going to be absolutely excellent in 5 years. I want to study letters for 5 years. I want to study these letters for 5 years in all kinds of different variations, and think of chords, and think of intervals, and think of songs in letters rather than these notes. Why? Because it makes theory come alive. Your music theory, your talking letters, you're talking, hey, you know what? I was just playing a D chord the other day, D, F sharp, A. And just saying that to someone is so cool. Oh, I was playing a D major 7 the other day. D, F sharp, A, C sharp. Oh, really? Oh, wow. Oh, I was playing a G scale the other day. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. In intervals. It is divided in whole steps and half steps. And we learned the measurement of a half step is a note touching another. When I held those 3 wooden keys in my hand, I was holding 2 half steps because they touch each other. This touch each other this way makes a half step, and this touch each other makes a half step. But together, 2 halves make a whole. So you can actually go from sharp to sharp with one letter in between and get a whole step. You can also go letter to letter with a sharp in between, okay, and get a whole step. Again, it's just touching each other gets a half step. That's a measurement. A half step is a very important thing to know. You might think, well, why is it so important to know? For one thing, it makes a chromatic city, which is the beginning of all letters of all kinds, which is 5 sharps and 7 letters, which makes 12 possible letters. 12 possible letters. It sounds so basic. If I could just learn 12 letters on the keyboard, where are they? What do they do together? How do they sound together? What town are they in? What do they do in the right hand as a guitar player? What do they do in the left hand as a bass player? All those things relating to letters into your fingers via your brain. Taking your ideas and going directly from your fingers to the keyboard in letters. You're thinking in letters. Gong. Mount. Gong. So thinking of letters in your brain to your fingers. To this point, what is a half step? A half step is a note touching another. Well then, if you have 2 halves together, like anything, it makes a whole. So here is 2 halves together, it's 3 together, but there's 1 in between. 1 could be a sharp or a sharp letter, right? Another way it could be would be like this. Ooh. A sharp and a sharp with just a letter in between. That also is a whole step. It's a whole step from this edge to this edge. From the sharp to the sharp is a whole step. See this in between? This is a letter. Okay, so if you're going here, letter to letter with a sharp in between, or sharp to sharp with a letter in between, you're going a whole step. So we see a whole step can be also letter to letter going to sharp. Moving from, in other words, the edge to the edge, from actually a letter side, skipping over another letter, because we have to have something in between to make that whole step, going to a, hopping onto a sharp. This direction. We're right here. We take a sharp here. This is an in-between scene right here. In-between, really cool. In-between, super great cool. This in-between scene is a big thing in keyboards. We told you that if you're going in between something like this one in between here, even though you're going from a letter to a sharp, there's still one in between. That's what we were looking for, that in-between note to go a whole step. We have to start talking about these in-betweens. The first in-between is a whole step. We have, this is actually labeled a 2 in music. It is the second note, it is the second house, it is the second letter of anywhere. It's the second letter of a chord, it's the second letter of a street, or the second house of a street. It's the second distance away. It's a whole step. It's one note in between. Going from one side to the other is considered from 1 to 2 with one note in between. Okay, this sounds so simple, but why do you have to know this? Because we're going to go further than that. But we have to know what the 2 is, because you have to learn the 2 of every one. How stupid can that be? I'll tell you why. Because when you really start to look at it the first time you do it, you don't know it. Between E and F sharp is a 2. Between G and G, F and G is a 2. Between F sharp and G sharp is a 2. Between G and A is a 2. Between A sharp and G sharp is a 2. Between A and B is a 2, etc., etc., etc. Between B and C is not a 2, because it doesn't have one note in between. Ding dong. Because you need to have a note in between to make it a 2. Why? Because a 2 is a whole step. A 2 is a whole step. So if you're moving from 1 to 2, you move a whole step, one note in between. Gone. Whole step. Very important to note. A whole step is what you are trying to learn. What it looks like from every note. What is this guy doing? Wait, wrong camera? Okay, so the letters are going like this, right? No, sorry. The letters are going like this in your brain. Right, not like this. You don't have to translate from this. You're going right. Anyways, you're going from write this to this. Well, it'd be nice if this made sound, but it doesn't make sound right now. But anyways, your 3s and your skis, okay? So this D in between, you know where it is? Well, it's near the G sharp. So we've got D down, we've got E down, and we've got G sharp down. Where it is, hopefully we find it fast. These 3 letters can turn us into where is the letter quick person, and I can play the keyboard fast person. Because you don't need to think about anything else, but let's find those letters and let's play those letters. Or let's just pick any letters. You have 5 sharp letters. Let's just say the 5 sharp letters really fast. Let's start with D sharp. D sharp, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, C sharp, D sharp. Remember, they repeat themselves. There's only 5 possible ones of the sharps. What about the letters? Let's start with E. E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Then E repeats itself. So there's only 7. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. E, F, G, A, B, C, D. There's only 7 possible letters before it repeats itself. So I am talking about letters into your fingers. If you know your letters into your fingers, you'll be able to play along with anything. In Studio E KEYSongs, we don't talk about big money equipment. What we talk about is how cool it would be if we knew what was going on in music enough that we could be able to play a little keyboard like this, which is just mini keys like this, unweighted keys, which I'm so for because then they don't stress on your fingers. They're really light air, just plastic. Why have any of the weight that you would have from wood when you used to have that wooden feel? Why try to imitate that? I thought we're trying to get more modern. Let's get lighter. And it's harder to play lighter. You should try to play it. When you're banging it and everything else like that, it's great because if you're playing a lighter key, you don't get as tired because you're not playing this extra grams or 2 weight of wood. You're playing just the lightness of plastic. And do you know that these manufacturers that make these keyboards, they try to put weights in them. They actually put heavier plastic or little pieces of metal, whatever, in them to make them weightier. Wait a minute, no, I like to find the keys that are called unweighted. Unweighted keys. No weights in the keys. As plasticky, as soft and flying as I can get. So I can fly faster, I can record faster, I can MIDI interface faster, I can do everything faster because I'm not weighted down by weights. I'm on flying modern keyboards now. Anyway, let's go back to this whole idea. I've got the 3s and the skis, and I've got them all in my sight line. And then I've got the ability to go from the letter side, registering on the letter side, to the other side. And I'm trying to find octaves. I'm trying to find those 8s, those beautiful 8s, the same letter in both. The best way to do it is to start on the sharps and take your fingers and play like a duck. You have to go into the keyboard like you are angled like this, not straight on like this. Not straight on like this, but angled. Not straight on like this, but angled. You have to be able to not just lose the ability of your thumb by hanging way off here. You gotta waddle onto the keyboard like a duck. These are two ducks, by the way. Like a duck. You have to waddle onto the keyboard, not straight on like this, but angled like this, in order to really get the feel of how to use that cool touch that I was talking about before, where you're touching your threes and your twos and you're touching them, and your ability to just get the feel of where you are on the keyboard without really looking at the keyboard. It's what we're talking about here. That three-dimensional touch ability gives you that. And again, they don't have to be a certain dark or light color. They can be all the same color. Just the touch of the height of the threes and the skis will guide you. And also your sight line, even with just the bumps, if it was the same color, just the bumps would sight, and you'd be able to know, oh, this is an E because it's on top of the skis. Oh, this is a C below the skis. Oh, this is a B right next to C because of the alphabet. B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. You just start learning it and you see it over and over and over again. There's only 12 of them. 7 of letters and 5 of sharp letters. That's 12 letters. Anyone can learn eventually 12 letters. And from those letters, it repeats over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. But when it does repeat over and over and over again, there's combinations. Those combinations are called intervals. They are played at the same time, ka-bling, or they play differently, blong bling, or backwards, bling bling, up to up to down, under up to down. Remember your brain. Once again, it's an important point. Remember your brain is thinking up to down in this letter thing, but on the keyboard you're playing up, right, up to you, up, right, down, left. Up, right, down, left. Just like this, up, right, down, left. In your brain, up, high, down, low. That crisscross is going on constantly in your brain. That's enough to go on. But you know what? These letters are the same as these letters. That's all you have to translate. The sight of these letters from the height of these letters. You have to translate the sight from the height. This is what I talk about. If you have all letters in your brain all the time, this is what can happen. Fast, quick playing of music. Because all you're doing is aiming at this diagram, at this pattern that is set before you with your fingers. And all I'm going to tell you is how to work your fingers really simply in your brain. The first is go into the keyboard like a duck. Best way to learn how to do that? Put your thumbs on the sharps. Some keyboards have a board here if you're playing a regular piano. So you can't even go that far. You have to scrunch up and in there. But that's what I want you to do. I want you to get your thumb on the sharp and hold it there. And then with your fourth finger, not your fifth reach finger, but with your fourth secret finger, find the same sharp that it touches with your natural width of your hand. And that is an octave. That is the same letter. My thumb has a G sharp, middle of the threes in it, sharp, G sharp with a duck position. That G sharp, I find another G sharp with my fourth finger, the secret finger, the fourth finger, because I'm angling like this, and I hit G sharp and I all of a sudden feel what an octave feels like.